Oh, hello. I didn't hear you come in. I'm sure you've heard that before. Hi, everybody. It's December 13th. It's live chat with me, Bryan Barron, Director of Skincare Research at Paula's Choice Skincare. You're on this chat because you have heard of the brand, you're a fan of the brand, you use our products, you want to know more about our products. So I am here for the next hour to answer your burning questions. Before I get to the questions, I apologize. Actually, I see there's some questions there already. Um, Normally, we do these live chats on YouTube the first Thursday of every month, but there was a scheduling issue on December 6th, which was last Thursday. So here we are today, and this will be the last live chat of 2018. Can you believe 2018 is almost over? What a year. Personally, for a variety of reasons, maybe not what you're thinking, maybe it is, but I'm ready for this year to be done. Um, it's been oh my God, there's just been more. I think this is true for a lot of people. There's been more lows than highs. There's been more personal loss, and at least in my world. And I don't want to be dreary though, because I am definitely a glass is half full person. I am more optimistic. I'm looking forward to great things in 2019. We have some great things, new products and whatnot, changes down the pike coming for you in 2019. And don't try to get me to talk. No, I might divulge a couple of hints. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But one of the things I wanted to mention is if you live in an area like I do, Michigan, where it gets colder, you have actually like colder winters, lower humidity, you may suffer from those unsightly, very painful splits that can occur on your finger, along the cuticle edge here. They suck. They can come out of nowhere seemingly. One day your skin's fine, the next day it's literally cracked open and very painful, and we've got a ton of nerve endings in our fingers, and so even like the slightest provocation, just like oh, um, and it's hard to keep the what you need to do is keep that area moist. I know, not the best word, but it fits. So that the skin can heal. When the wounded area, and this is a wound, when it's constantly dry, just because your hands are dry, we're washing our hands a lot, we're using hand sanitizer. Our hands, it's very easy in the wintertime, if you live in a cold climate, to get your hands in a chronically dehydrated, dry state. And that's how these splits happen. And then we keep doing the same thing that caused the splits. We end up getting more of them, and it's just a vicious cycle. So, why am I mentioning this? Because I have come up with what I think is a very helpful way to get through these skin annoyances that can be quite painful. Staying ahead of it, if you are constantly applying hand cream, preferably one with sunscreen during the day, after every hand washing, every time you use this hand sanitizer, they probably won't happen to you to begin with. But realistically, who's going to do that? So, going with the fact that it probably will happen at least once over the winter, here's what you do. You get a product, a liquid bandage type product like New Skin. There's some other versions. It's sort of like a paint on, almost like a clear nail polish for the wound, and it has an antiseptic in it to help kill any harmful bacteria. However, the other ingredients in products like that, as helpful as they are, when they're applied straight on to the wound, I think it's been my experience that they tend to backfire, and they dry and sort of protect the wound like they're supposed to, but they also really dry it out and don't give it the moisture that the skin needs to heal. So what you do is you take a product like CeraVe Healing Ointment. This is just what I happen to have right here. Aquaphor is fine. You can use Paula's Choice Lip and Body Treatment Balm. The point is, thick, rich, balm-like ointmenty product. You put a thin layer of it over the split, let it sink in for a few minutes, and then you paint the New Skin product on top of it. That creates a barrier between the New Skin and your wound, And because as far as the antiseptic action goes, I mean, just wash your hands before you put the ointment on. And I think just the soap and water type cleansing is fine. Put the ointment on, give it a moment to absorb, brush on a coat or two of the new skin and let it dry. It will take a little longer to dry, but I promise you the results will be worth it because you're sealing that moisture in and the split is going to heal. In my experience, they heal about twice as fast when you follow that methodology as opposed to just keeping the new skin painted on again and again and again. All right, that's it for that. Let's dive into the questions. If you are still doing some holiday shopping, of course, we have holiday gift sets and other promotions going on paulaschoice.com right now. Some really cool sets, even if you're just looking for yourself, because actually I heard an interesting statistic. I promise I'll get to the questions. Over half, now this was just a survey involving women. I'm not, guys aren't off the hook here, but over half of women admit that every time they buy a present during the holiday season for somebody else, they buy themselves something too. There was no information about they're spending more on themselves or it's, equal value or, a blouse for mom, a blouse for me. But I just thought that was kind of interesting and certainly a way to make sure that you get what you want in terms of presents. But it does make life miserable if you are a person that's hard to shop for and you've already bought yourself everything you really want. Anyway, all right, let's start with Isabird. She has what looks to be either 3 separate questions or 1 long question. Let's see here. Hi, Bryan. I think my skin doesn't get along with niacinamide, but I really want to have the ingredient in my routine. Is there a particular formula that could be easier to tolerate? I'm currently using the Skin Balancing Toner and moisturizer, both contain niacinamide, in the morning, and the toner plus the CeraVe PM lotion at night. Which one should I give up? I'm noticing redness, burning sensation, and little red bumps. Isabird, it might be from the niacinamide because all of those products that you mentioned contain that ingredient, but it might not be. I mean, that you may have pulled that out as the culprit because it's in all of the products, but it could be something else in just one of them. So before you give up on niacinamide, and I agree with you, it's a great ingredient to use. It can benefit all skin types in numerous ways. It's particularly great for dealing with enlarged pores, uneven skin tone, and an impaired barrier. If it were me, I would play process of elimination and eliminate 1 product at a time from your routine. And if you, let's see, like maybe start with the toner because out of everything you're using, I think the toner, even though I love our toners, don't kill me for saying this, but when you're paring down your routine, the toner can be the first to go. So start with that, see how your skin responds. If you are not noticing any sort of an improvement, I would perhaps swap out the CeraVe moisturizer for something else, with or without niacinamide. I'm fairly certain, given niacinamide is generally well tolerated by most people, that even though it's the common denominator between the products you're using, it likely isn't the culprit. But you've got to go through this process of elimination in order to determine that. The other option would be to switch out everything in your routine that you're currently using and move to products that do not contain any niacinamide, and then maybe move to that after you've taken out the toner and the moisturizer. And if you're after a week or so, 10 days, if you're not seeing any improvement, then try a niacinamide-free routine and see if that helps. Even then, though, I'm still not saying, oh, it's the niacinamide that's doing it. It might be, but that's kind of more, that complete elimination is more of a direct way to either confirm what you suspect or have to start all over again because something else is going on if your skin isn't getting any better, even without using any niacinamide, which really isn't known to make skin worse. But we can all be sensitive to certain ingredients, certain concentrations. No ingredient is off the hook, even though the research isn't there to support a high risk of an allergic reaction or a sensitized reaction. Okay, moving on. Lily, hi, I love these chats. Thank you. I have red marks left from acne that I would like to treat quickly. I've never heard someone say I have red marks left from acne and I want them, they can go away whenever they're ready. Sorry, I'm in a bit of a mood today, and but I share your concern. I have a few of those going on right now, and I wish that they were gone. She says she's tried vitamin C in the past, but did not see a huge difference. What are your thoughts on doing IPL laser? I think, having had several IPLs in the past, I just looking at uh, after I washed my face last night, I think I was like, oh, I could probably use another IPL. You just kind of start noticing a little bit of a color change issue, and more some sun damage starts creeping up, and it's one of those things where IPL can step in to complement and kind of pick up where skincare ingredients leave off. So in the case of the red marks, it's post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. I do think IPL can help. The trick is it may take 1 to 3 treatments before that mark is totally gone. So that's just something that you need to be prepared for. Don't expect a quick fix. Maybe that'll happen, but I always tell people with any sort of a procedure, surgical, non-invasive, to keep your expectations realistic. That's the best chance that you will actually love the outcome, as opposed to being like, oh, and I don't want you to be, oh. So along with that, though, the biggest difference that I've seen in treating my own post-acne marks is when I combine vitamin C or niacinamide, for that matter. So for example, our 10% niacinamide booster, or our C25 spot treatment, which is 25% pure vitamin C, with our 10% azelaic acid booster. There's something about that, the combination of those 3 ingredients. I don't always put them all on all at once. Like, I'll do the azelaic acid booster as the base. That's like the constant. And then I go back and forth as to whether or not I'll follow with niacinamide booster. And when I use the niacinamide booster, I'll put it all over my face, because why not? It's good for everywhere. And when I use the vitamin C, the C25, that I use more as a spot treatment because it's pretty potent. And it really, the texture of that, it's a silicone-rich, kind of a silky cream. It's not the best for spreading all over the face. If you want vitamin C all over your face in a higher strength product, the C15 Super Booster would be the one to go with. And then the C25 booster is your spot treatment. And you can also use that around the eyes for these lovely little fine lines that aren't so fine and crow's feet. Okay, so give that a go. Moving on here, Val says, hi Bryan, what do you think of professional peeling, and what are the benefits versus home peel? I like professional peels. I've only had a couple of them in my life, and I didn't think they were all that spectacular, but I was trying some of the less conventional stuff, because I thought I was already, what I was doing at home in terms of AHA, BHA exfoliation, was good. And what I really should have done is asked the dermatologist about an alpha hydroxy acid or a salicylic acid peel, or a mixed acid peel, which some of them offer depending on the individual doctor and what they prefer. They all have a menu, if you will, of acids and formulations to choose from, and they'll often experiment and weigh the patient outcome, satisfaction, the cost of the product, and then what they can charge the patient, and on and on and on. So if you are having it done by a dermatologist, if the peel is primarily, and by primarily I mean like most of the percentage, is a well-known, well-researched acid like glycolic or lactic or salicylic, there can be smaller amounts of other supporting acids, malic, tartaric, will be another good one that would be used in like a peel mix. There is one called TCA, which is trichloroacetic acid. It's a different type of ingredient than an alpha or beta hydroxy acid. That is only available in a professional setting, as far as I know. If you can buy it online, chances are you shouldn't. There's some safety concerns with that ingredient in terms of its potency and how it should be used. That's just best left to a medical setting. But yeah, I think for improving lines, wrinkles, texture issues, clogged pores, sun damage, anything that at-home use of an AHA or BHA can do, the use of an occasional higher strength peel in a professional setting can take you even further. The trick is balancing out how often you get those types of peels versus the results you're getting from ongoing home maintenance with, I guess you'd say, more pedestrian strength. Does not mean they're ineffective, of course, levels of AHA and BHA leave-on exfoliants. In terms of at-home peels, I have yet to see one that they're really good ones, meaning like they're an effective pH and they've got a good concentration of the acids that would count as more of a stronger peel. I mean, Drunk Elephant makes one that's like 25%, and Exuviance makes a few of them that are in the 10 to 15% range. Those are fine. Those absolutely work. Don't buy the ones, though, that give you a truckload of acids, like 50, 60%. And that don't reveal any information about their pH. If they're not telling you, chances are that despite the high amount of acids, they've buffered the peel to the point where the acids really can't exfoliate. Just too much of a liability when you've got 50, 60, 70% acid claim for at-home use. If, however, they do reveal the pH and it is below 3, I would also use caution. The difference between like a pH 3.2 and a pH 3, or more so like a pH 3.2, and AHAs, BHAs work best between 3 and 4. They will work at lower pH levels, but when you get down to underneath a 3, you're really tipping the scales in favor of irritating your skin, and that's never the goal. And you've probably heard me say that many times, but it's worth repeating because we never want you to irritate your skin. The difference, though, between like a pH of 2.7 and a pH of 3.2, you're like, oh, that's, I can do that simple math in my head. It's only, not even, it's half a decimal point. Right. But pH is measured on a logarithmic, I knew I'd get that out, logarithmic scale that it's probably easier to equate it with the difference between earthquake magnitudes. So a magnitude of 6 is going to cause some pretty serious shaking and whatnot, but a magnitude of 6.5 could cause considerably more damage. So think of that difference in the pH when you're going down towards more acidic or up towards more alkaline, which would be all the way to 14. Anything above 7 is in the alkaline side of it. All right. Benefits. Let me just also mention benefits of a professional peel versus a home peel is in a professional setting, you've got somebody who can monitor how your skin is doing in real time. They know what to look for. They know how to stop the peel if need be. And also in a professional setting, they can customize a peel for you. Whereas when you're buying online, you're kind of getting what you get. Now, yes, you could mix it yourself at home, using 2 or 3 different peels, but that's the type of playing bathroom chemist I don't encourage. Anthony says, hello, Bryan, Merry Christmas. Hello, Merry Christmas. Getting some people saying hi. It's nice to talk to everybody. All right, Alex says, hola, Bryan. 2 questions, please. What causes the little bumps in the skin? What are they exactly? And can body wash be used as a shampoo? Well, your second question is much easier to answer, Alex, and unless the body wash is like a super creamy or has a lot of oil in it, any body wash that's more like milky looking or clear can be used as a shampoo. The creamier, richer, moisturizing body washes, Dove sensitive skin would be an example that is widely available. I wouldn't use that as a shampoo unless you have very dry, coarse hair. And I'd be a little suspicious as to how well that would rinse from hair versus how it rinses from skin. But if you have dry, coarse hair and you want to give it a go, worst case scenario, it doesn't work, you go back to your regular shampoo. The first question, I'm not sure the tiny little bumps in the skin could be any number of things. It could be milia, it could be I think they're called xanthomas, those little cholesterol deposits around the eyes. Let me know further on down what you mean by little bumps in the skin. What do they look like? Where are they? Are they all over? Are they keratosis pilaris? I don't know how to answer that. Bella says, I've never used AHA gel before, but I received a sample bottle. I normally use BHA. Should I try the AHA in my face? Where else can I use the AHA? I have heard people use it on their heels too. You can use it anywhere you want to exfoliate skin. You can also use AHA at the same time as BHA. So you could put on your BHA at night, for example, as usual, and then put the AHA gel on and for an extra hit of exfoliation. You could try alternating using BHA one day, AHA the next. It's fine to use both. It's also fine to just use one depending on how your skin responds. In my situation, I tend to go back and forth routinely between AHA and BHA. I like the Resist Daily Smoothing Treatment, which gives me 5% AHA, glycolic acid. And then I use our Calm Redness Relief 1% BHA lotion. And then at least once a week, I use one of our higher strength leave-on AHA or BHA serum type products, just kind of for that extra perk, extra maintenance. We need that when we get older. Can you believe? I can't believe I'm almost 45. Whoa. Okay. So yeah, Bella, give it a go. If you find that it doesn't work so well on your face, you could use it on rough elbows, knees, heels, your entire foot. Follow. I would say afterwards because generally when we start getting that cracked buildup of dead skin on the feet, sometimes it's just calluses, but sometimes it's also just dry skin. And AHA in the gel form is definitely going to hydrate, but I would encourage you to follow up with a nice foot cream or a lush buttery type moisturizer like our Clinical Ultra Soothing Body Butter. I love that for feet. Put the AHA on, put the body butter on, put on a pair of cotton socks, and be very, very careful if you don't, because your feet will be a little slippery. I don't want you to fall. And then wake up in the morning with super smooth feet. Okay, Lily says, do you have any thoughts on Biologique Recherche and their treatments? I would love to do a treatment to treat my acne, but I am scared to ruin my skin. I use BHA and AHA, but it's not enough for me. So when people ask us about that brand, which is a French brand, if you couldn't tell from the very French name, that was the worst French accent attempt ever. They are most known for their selection of leave-on exfoliant type products. They're liquids, the P50, the P70, P70W, and so on and so forth. You can, not right now, but you can pop over to beautypedia.com. The team there has reviewed all of those products and with not so great results. They're potent. They're very, very potent products. They exfoliate, ain't no question that they work, but I think they work a little too well, and they give skin, depending on the formula, there's varying levels of ingredients known to be irritating and in some cases not really known to have much benefit for skin, or what we once thought to be true about some of the ingredients in those products has since been disproven, or perhaps it's still true, but then new research years later has revealed, okay, yeah, it does this good thing, but it does all this bad stuff too. And that's not good for skin health, especially in a product that is encouraged for daily use, which a lot of these are. So in terms of AHA and BHA not working for your acne, I would want to know what else you're doing, because getting and maintaining clear skin for many people isn't going to be as easy as an AHA or BHA exfoliant or even higher strength versions of those products. You need to add other products like a benzoyl peroxide product. You may need a prescription retinoid product. You may need to take a course of oral antibiotics. If your acne isn't responding well or at all to traditional over-the-counter skincare, you need to get a dermatologist or a healthcare provider involved who can talk to you about prescription options, because a lot of cases of acne will need both, and that exfoliation factor is only that's addressing a pretty big part of what leads to acne and clogged pores, but it doesn't address everything. You need to go after the acne as gently as possible, but if you pardon the expression, with all guns blazing, to make sure that you give yourself the best chance of getting clear skin quickly. Bella says, what happens if you use products past the date mark on the product? Is it bad? Does it just mean the ingredients aren't as potent? In the case of over-the-counter products like acne products with benzoyl peroxide, sunscreen products, hydroquinone products, generally the expiration date is the date that the product has been shown to or is believed to start becoming less effective. It's not 60 miles an hour or kilometers, depending on where you live, then down to zero. Meaning it's one day it's effective, yay. The next day you got nothing. It's a gradual drop in effectiveness. So nothing bad is going to happen. It's depending on the formula, depending on how it's packaged. Past that 2 to 3 year mark, which is generally the a period after opening, the PAO symbol, when you'd want to toss out a product, the preservative system starts failing, and the product starts to become less stable. It starts to become, if it's water-based, it starts to become more hospitable to bacterial growth and proliferation. Left unchecked, that can lead to skin issues, down the road. It's not something, but we're talking like a product that's in a jar, that's water-based, that you dip your finger into all the time, that you never really close all the way. It's exposed to fluctuating temperatures. But we always say too, though, that for the majority of skincare products, if it's something you like, if it's something that you use regularly, you should be going through it within 6 months to a year after opening. Even if you are buying some expensive products and you try it and you don't like it and you're putting it in your drawer or your cabinet, and then who knows how long down the road you find it and you're like, oh yeah, maybe I should try this again. I wonder if it's still good. At the very least, if you're going to do that, take a Sharpie, little Sharpie pen, write down the date that you opened the product. So you're not standing there thinking, when did I buy this? When did I use this? And if it's within two years or so since you first opened it and you want to try it again, give it another go. But then, of course, just pay attention to whether or not the product is separated, whether you notice an odor change, whether there's a color change. It used to be pure white and now it's looking kind of brownish or tan, whatever. Just it's no longer the color you remember. What else? Just anything that just, you kind of just know, like when milk has gone bad. I mean, oh yeah, that's probably not so good anymore. And then in that case, it's just when in doubt, toss it out. Anthony asks, does tretinoin thin skin or is this a myth? And is it possible to start using it too young? Tretinoin does not thin the skin. That is a myth. It can, depending on how your skin responds as it's getting acclimated, it can seem like it's thinning your skin. If you have that type of a response where your skin starts kind of flaking and peeling, and it's almost like coming off in sheets, kind of like when you've gotten a sunburn and your skin peels, that dead skin just starts flaking off. But what tretinoin has been shown to do deeper in the skin is it stimulates the very substances that create firmer, fresher, younger looking skin. It stimulates glycosaminoglycans, which are a key part of skin's intercellular matrix. It can stimulate new collagen. It can stimulate other substances in skin that give it that youthful suppleness. I mean, I've seen women in the past who I know have been using Retin-A, for example, for 20, 30 years. And they've been really good about sun protection. They're really good about not tanning. And their skin just has this gorgeous smoothness and radiance and almost like a youthful translucency. And I know that's kind of a strange word because you hear translucent and you think, well, doesn't that mean thin? But what I mean is when you look at them, their skin has this clarity to it that makes their complexion look translucent in the sense of you can't even see down to where that sun damage is lurking and kind of making its way up to the surface, if that makes sense. Maybe you're not following me and maybe I'm not explaining it well enough, but the bottom line is prescription retinoids do not thin the skin. I've never seen any research that it does that. You cannot start using it too young. However, if you don't have acne, if you're not dealing with signs of sun damage at a younger age, because some people, certainly lots of teenagers and young adults deal with acne, but it's also possible, depending on your sun habits and your indoor tanning habits when you were younger, you could already be dealing with some significant signs of sun damage in your late teens to early 20s. Not unheard of. In that case, as long as you're willing to make a commitment to sun protection and not tanning in any format, then yes, start using Tretinoin. It's not going to stop working, in your 30s, and then when you get into your 40s and you're like, oh man, no, I'm really seeing signs of aging and wish I hadn't started that Tretinoin because now it doesn't work. That's not what happens. I always go back to the diet analogy because it's something that, we all have to eat. Salmon is good for me today. It's going to be good for me tomorrow. It's going to be good for me 20 years from now. It does not stop being healthy even if I eat it a lot. And I actually should be eating salmon more. It's just living here in Michigan, it's hard to get really good salmon. I got spoiled in Washington. Okay, how are we on time? Okay, good. David asks, what does a Defense Line serum have that helps pores? Oh, David, what doesn't it have that helps pores? No, it has 0.5% salicylic acid. It has some niacinamide in it, and it also has the potassium diazoyl glycinate, which is less about pore size and more about just improving skin tone and getting a little bit of anti-breakout action. So it can help in the sense of clogged pores, and it works really well with salicylic acid. The main reason that we put a small amount of salicylic acid in the pore purifier is to deliver those antioxidants that are in the serum as well, the anti-pollution antioxidants, further into skin, because what the research has shown is that certain types of airborne pollutants are of such a small size that they can get past skin surface and into the pore lining, and then when they are in there, they get stuck. They cause an inflammatory cascade that can lead to the pores getting slightly larger. It can be a contributory factor. And so the theory is that by using salicylic acid, which can cut through that oil and get those antioxidants that are mixed with it into the pore lining, those antioxidants can reach the pollutants and begin neutralizing their damaging effects. And if after a certain amount of time of that happening, because depending on where you live and where you travel, there's only so much you can do to protect yourself from exposure to these what's called small particulate matter. They're not going away, let's just put it that way, unless we go back to the pre-industrial age, which isn't happening. But the theory is that if you stay on top of that with antioxidant-rich products and you're good about daily use of sunscreen, that you can mitigate that damage from taking place. So yes, the pollutants will still penetrate to a certain point, but now when they get stuck down there, you've got a means to stop them in their tracks. All right, Zentrino is a daily replenishing cream. Oh, I love that product. Effective enough to firm the skin as described on the product page. We actually say it firms skin. Well, it does. So here's what it is. When you are giving your skin barrier repair ingredients, such as the fatty acids found in the plant oils in that product, along with the antioxidants, along with the peptides, you are giving your skin the tools it needs. I shouldn't say tools, the ingredients that it needs to repair that barrier, to help prevent moisture loss, and to some extent to stimulate normal new collagen production. And that is going to make skin look firmer. Now, if your body skin is to the point where you're actually seeing like visible sagging on the arms or the legs or the chest, that is not the type of firming that we're talking about. That's not the type of firming that any body care product could do, because that type of sagging is a result of, to some extent, muscle loss. As we get older, we lose muscle. Now, of course, there's strength training you can do, and I would encourage that to keep muscle mass up. But even then, you can't fight gravity, and you can't fight the fact that as we get older, we start losing bone mass, but our skin, lovely twist of nature, keeps growing. So between that and gravity, all of us are going to experience some amount of body skin sagging in our lives. Unprotected sun exposure, put your skin on the fast track to experience that. You'll see it much sooner. Don't help the inevitable happen any faster. But yeah, that's how a product like the replenishing body cream can help skin look and feel firmer. It isn't actually tightening the skin, but when you give skin back what it needs to act and look healthier and stimulate some amount of new collagen, which skin loves doing on its own as long as we stop damaging the surface, you will see an increase in firmness. But again, it's not going to be like my skin's down to here. Oh, I should do this. My skin's down to here, and then next week it's back up here just from using a body cream. That ain't going to happen. Okay, Brody. Hi, Brian. I've heard some dermatologists say on the media, refer to retinoids as a form of exfoliation because of how they help with cellular turnover and collagen production, and that using them... Where's the rest of your question? Oh, retracted. Okay, here's some more. Using them along with the exfoliant and them only requires a few minutes of short contact with the skin to penetrate. Your thoughts? I mean, ideally they need to be left on the skin. If you can use an AHA or a BHA exfoliant and leave it on for a few minutes, and you're going to get a little bit. It's going to start working a little bit, but ideally, I would say at minimum, you really should leave it on for 20 minutes, I would say, 15 to 20 minutes. Now, there are some acne face washes that have 0.5% salicylic acid. To some extent, that can help begin the process of killing the acne-causing bacteria when you use it as a face wash. But, I mean, the real reason most of those products have the salicylic acid in cleanser form is because of, at least here in the United States, the regulations around when you can and can't say acne, because of the fact that acne is a skin disorder, a skin disease. It's the ingredients that are approved for over-the-counter use to treat it are subject to a set of regulations that regular cosmetic ingredients do not have to follow. And there's good reason for that, but in the case of a cleanser, for example, you can't make acne claims unless you have one of the approved anti-acne ingredients in the product. So, and we do that with our clear normalizing cleanser, but I would never tell someone with acne, oh, you just need to rely on that face wash because that'll give you your salicylic acid and you're good to go. Absolutely follow up with the salicylic acid toner that's step 2 in the clear routine, the anti-redness exfoliating solution in regular or extra strength, depending on your acne. The other question, though, is terms from Brody is retinoids being an exfoliant, and they're not an exfoliant in the sense that AHA and BHA ingredients are. Where it gets confusing is that what a retinoid does is it helps change how skin cells are formed in the lower layer of skin, and then how those cells move through the skin on their way to the surface. What you see on the surface is a flattened, drier version of what began much lower in the skin as a plump, round cell. As it moves through the skin, through the various layers, it undergoes various processes that change the shape, the size, the feel, the appearance of the cell until it finally makes its way to the surface, and we see that as skin. Due to various factors, sometimes genetic factors, very often sun damage, and the way acne can change skin, hormones and whatnot, that process can become faulty. And so Tretinoin, prescription retinoids, can step in and help get that process back on track by changing the way new cells are formed and how they move through the skin. Alpha and beta hydroxy acids don't do that. Alpha and beta hydroxy acids dissolve the bonds between the dead cells that keep them sticky and held to the surface when they normally would be shedding, which is something that we don't see. When your skin cells are shedding on their own, for example, look at the skin of a 4 or 5-year-old kid. It's smooth, it's plump, it's gorgeous. Their skin cells are shedding just like yours, but because they haven't accumulated the amount of sun damage that adults do, because no one's 100% perfect about UV protection all the time. And we make mistakes in the past about getting too much sun and doing other bad things to our skin that kids don't even think about doing. Their skin looks fantastic. It's still exfoliating, and we don't see it happening. A lot of people see that when they try a prescription retinoid product, they get some flaking and some surface dryness, and they look at that and think, oh, it's because it's exfoliating my skin and now I'm getting all flaky. That's actually a sign of a irritation or a dermatitis as your skin acclimates to tretinoin. Some people can get over that hump the longer they use the product. Some people cannot. Some people need to adjust the amount of tretinoin they use. Just by that I mean using a milder strength of it. Or it may be a case of needing to apply less. It really doesn't take a lot of tretinoin to start working, and it's not one of those ingredients where we're thinking if a little is good and more is better, it's going to help your skin. It'll likely have the opposite effect. Okay. Jennifer says, this is my first live chat new to PC. Welcome, Jennifer. Welcome, Jennifer. Anyone recognize that tune from How the Grinch Stole Christmas? I keep trying to get my son to watch that, and he's not interested. He just wants to watch Polar Express, which I don't mind, but he's just fascinated by it. Okay, this is my first live chat new to PC. My question, I purchased vitamin C booster, niacinamide, peptide booster, and the Complete Resist line for dry skin. What goes with what? So Jennifer, welcome to PC, Paula's Choice. And you've got your core routine with the Resist line for dry skin, your cleanser, your toner. We didn't mention if you got the Essential collection, which is a smaller one, or the Advanced, which throws in the toner and another exfoliant, and the serum. Does the Essential have the serum too? No, I don't think it does. In any event, the Resist products are fairly straightforward in terms of when to use them and which is which step. The boosters are where things can get confusing because they're really versatile and you may not need or want to use them all at once. So, for example, going through your Resist routine during the day, you'll wash your face. If you've got the toner, you can use that. You can put on the exfoliant, or you can save that exfoliant step for night if you prefer. That's what I do. I like putting fewer skincare products on during the day, and I'll layer until the cows come home at night. But if you want to do your exfoliant step twice a day, that would go on next, and then you could do your antioxidant serum. But what I would say from that point on is you layer what you want to use based on the texture. So, for example, the niacinamide booster is a thinner, watery texture, so that would go on over the exfoliant, and then you could put your serum on if you're using the serum during the day. Again, you could also just use the serum step at night, totally fine, and then proceed to your sunscreen. And then same thing at night. After cleansing, toning, exfoliating, let's say you want to use the C15 and the niacinamide booster at the same time. Those products, those two boosters have very similar consistencies, and there's no hard and fast rule in terms of which one goes on first. It's just whatever one you want to put on first. But let's say you were using the vitamin C booster and the peptide booster, because the peptide booster is a little thicker. I would put that on after the vitamin C booster or the niacinamide booster, which have very similar consistencies. So I hope that helps. Keep in mind that you do not have to use all of those boosters every day, all at the same time to get benefit. I have several of the boosters as well. I call it my booster wardrobe. And I decide which one to use based on what my skin's needs are that day. If I'm feeling a little on the drier side or dehydrated, I'll put on the hyaluronic acid booster. or I'll mix that with the peptide booster. If I'm feeling really dry, I'll use the oil booster. So I just kind of go, I rotate back and forth, and I'll use several of them throughout the week just to make sure I'm kind of always giving my skin that nice round robin of great ingredients and not missing out. But don't get overwhelmed and think that you're missing out if you don't put all of those on every single day. It's fine to alternate. Okay. Adri says, yippee, a late lunch at work has worked in my favor because here you are. Question, will the Resist Super Light Wrinkle Defense ever get higher than SPF 30? It's the only PC sunscreen for my oiliness. That probably is already more than SPF 30, but we defaulted to that because the testing, I'd have to double check the paperwork. So short answer I don't know at this point. In order to get higher than where we landed, and in terms of a significant number, because the testing may have revealed that the SPF was actually 33, but that's a weird, just in terms of how the industry does it. SPF 33 is kind of a weird number. Like, what's the difference between 30 and 33? And in the SPF parlance, not much. So you may as well go with 30. It's perfectly fine from a regulatory standpoint when you have a sunscreen product that tests at one number. You can label it any number below that. We could call it SPF 10, and it's really a 30. Completely up to the brand. What you can't do is put a higher SPF label. If we only get a 30, we can't slap an SPF 50 label on a product and say, yeah, but that's what we were going for, and it's kind of close enough, right? No, that doesn't fly. And you do have to prove that SPF claim. That's not just something that the FDA is just like, oh no, we trust you. They check. Getting that super light daily wrinkle defense to an SPF 50 would essentially require a reformulation, which never say never. We might look into doing something like that. We've got the Resist Skin Restoring Moisturizer that's SPF 50. So we'll see. But right now, I can tell you it's not in the works. If you are looking to add a bit more sun protection, though, you could experiment with putting the Resist Smoothing Primer Serum, SPF 30, underneath the Super Light Daily Wrinkle Defense. That won't get you SPF 60. The math doesn't quite work that way, but for certain, because you are putting more sunscreen on, pardon me, you will be getting more sun protection. Maybe it's SPF 40, maybe it's actually SPF 50, we don't know, but it's more than just using the one product by itself, that's for sure. I just can't tell you how much more. And then Adri says, same person, remind me which sunscreen I use. This is the only Paula's Choice skincare product that I do not use is my sunscreen step, and that's from SkinCeuticals. I really like the Physical Fusion SPF 50. It isn't because I want SPF 50 and we don't have enough of them. If it was SPF 30, I would still use it just as my daily. I like how it feels. I like the fluidity of it. I like the little bit of a tint, and it doesn't make my already pale skin look ghostly. I've tried on some mineral sunscreens in the past that I've had people say, are you okay? All the color is drained from your face. I'm like, I know, it's awful. But I'm not going to get wrinkled. Yay! So this is a nice balance for me. The Super Light Daily Wrinkle Defense is actually a bit too matte for me. And then I can't use sunscreens with avobenzone around my eyes. It causes stinging and some irritation. So I can't use any of our facial SPFs that have avobenzone in them. And the other mineral options that we have, including the new Defense Essential Glow, which I think is a beautiful formula, and my husband stockpiles that and uses it every day. He says it's his favorite sunscreen ever, which is high praise, believe me. He's very selective about his skincare. That one is too creamy for me. It's too thick. He has more normal to dry skin with maybe an oily nose every now and then. I'm more like classic oily T-zone, normal skin everywhere else, sometimes drier on the cheeks. But all right, we've got a few more minutes left. Woo! Let's see, MDW. Okay, MDW says, can you speak a bit about the difference between all the different retinols that are offered, resist versus clinical versus booster? Also, lip balm is sold out online. Any idea when I did not know that. I don't get these alerts. And I'll show you. Look, right here in my drawer. It's almost gone. I have more in the bathroom, and I have some in the bedroom, but they're all getting pretty low, so this could potentially turn into a tragedy for me as well. I will have to follow up, though. I don't know. Having just found out from you, you know more about this than I do, that it's out of stock. I know that it's a very popular product, and I'm sure that our supply chain team is doing everything they can to get it back in as quickly as possible. You know, we have such a great team behind the scenes. And it's really, as someone who's been with the company 19 years, I'm so impressed with the staff that we have now, and as we've grown, and how they adapt to change. And it's so you are in good hands. I'm sorry that it's out of stock. I hate it when anything goes out of stock. Sometimes it's beyond our control. Not making excuses, but like sometimes a shipment of packaging, you know, that we've got everything ready to go. You know, we've got the cookie recipe, but we don't have the baking sheet. Hello, and it's delayed. And we do what we can to get it back as soon as possible. Okay, so the retinols. There's different strengths. There is different textures, and in some cases there are different delivery systems. For example, our clinical 1% retinol treatment and our 1% retinol booster have the same type of delivery system, where it is a slow, controlled release. Because 1% retinol is a lot, I know 1%, you know, if you get 1% on a test, you fail. 1%, you know, out of 100, 1% retinol is actually a pretty good slug of a very potent bioactive ingredient. And if your skin responds well to it, you're going to be very happy. However, not everyone's skin can tolerate 1% retinol, so we offer lower percentages, such as the, I think it's a 0.1%, which again, that's hardly anything. Oh no, my friend, not with retinol. It's actually quite a bit. There's research supporting all of the different strengths of retinol that we use in our products, because we would never put an ingredient like that in a skincare product and then tout retinol's benefits, but then know, you know, behind the scenes that you're not really getting the amount of retinol you should be. That's absolutely stuff we pay attention to. So in any of our retinol products, even the lowest strength ones, which would be the skin recovery and skin balancing serums, you're still getting the benefits of that ingredient. We have the variances that we do so that people can really kind of hone in and customize their routine and get the results that they want, no matter the degree of skin concern around aging, or in some cases even breakouts that they have. So I know from a shopping perspective, it can be confusing because you don't know which one to pick, or you're just not sure which one to pick, or all of them sound like they would be great for you. In that case, know that you don't need to use all of them at once. You know, really one product with retinol in your routine at a time is fine. What I do, just as an example, is I use one of our lower strength retinol products, which is the Resist Intensive Wrinkle Repair Serum. That's one of my go-to serums 2 or 3 nights a week. And then on the other nights, depending on what else I'm using, but I'll swap in the 1% retinol booster. The clinical 1% retinol treatment has a creamier lotion texture that I don't like as much with my skin type and everything else that I use at night. The booster is very, very lightweight and fluid. I prefer, if I'm going to layer products, which I do a lot at night, as I mentioned earlier, I put fewer products on during the day. Because I have combination skin, I use the thinnest possible texture I can get away with at night. So I may be layering 5 or 6 products that have the very similar fluid, thin texture, and that works out great for me. And I wake up with, you know, smooth, glowing skin, as opposed to a face full of clogged pores, which would likely happen to me if everything that I layered on was very rich and creamy. So we offer smaller either sample sizes or deluxe travel sizes of pretty much all, if I'm not mistaken, of our retinol products. So I would encourage you to try the 1 or 2 that you think would be best for you, if you've never used retinol before, and unless you have very dry skin, for the face, I think our Resist Barrier Repair Moisturizer is a great place to start, and then maybe pair that with the Intensive Wrinkle Repair Serum and see what, either layering those at night or alternating between them, see what kind of results you get. If you have deeper wrinkles, more advanced signs of sun damage and aging, you can go ahead and jump to one of the 1% retinol products and use that according to the label directions, particularly if you're new to retinol. Okay, let's get some questions from some newbies. Nisepi N says, which Paula's Choice products are most healing and soothing for mild eczema flare-ups? Which ingredients are my best friends? And are there any new advancements in eczema care? There are some new advancements in eczema care in terms of topicals that I read about a while back, and of course I'm completely blanking on what those are. I was going to tell you a website. Is it Medical News Today? Let me double check. Bear with me. Yeah, go to medicalnewstoday.com after this chat and do a search for eczema, and you should be able to find some interesting information there. That why I'm recommending that site is you can go to the dermatology section, kind of dive deeper from there. Is that the articles that they present, most of them are written so that the layperson can understand it. It's not a bunch of scientific mumbo jumbo and terms that you're like, I don't know what the heck that means. Yeah, let us worry about those studies and figure out what the heck that means, and then we'll translate it for you. But Medical News Today does that for all kinds of health-related news, and I think it's a pretty cool site to check out. In terms of the most healing, soothing products for eczema flare-ups, I am a really big fan of our Resist Omega Complex Serum, because the Omega 3, 6, and 9 blend in there along with the ceramides is so soothing. Amazingly so. I mentioned my husband earlier. He actually got some eczema flare-ups for the first time. He had some on his inner arm and then some on his lower leg. And he started using cortisone at first, mostly to deal with the redness and the itching, because that if you have those flare-ups, if you don't do anything to keep them treated, they will start itching, and sometimes even when you do treat them, they itch, and it's very frustrating. I had him start, he was getting some benefit from the hydrocortisone, but what I had him start doing is continue with that and then put our Omega Serum on top. And he did it on his arms, but not his legs. He forgot, so he says. Within like 3 days, the eczema flare-up on his arms, gone. Gone. On his legs, just with the cortisone, still there. Not as itchy, not as red, still there though. So then he started using the Omega Serum on his leg as well, and now that spot is cleared up. So I think that is one of our most wonderful formulas, period. Just with the research on omegas, their anti-inflammatory properties. But we use those types of soothing ingredients in many of our products. Omegas are one group. There's ceramides are in there as well, but we have other products with ceramides and hyaluronic acid, which is also incredibly calming. That's in our Calm Serum. Vitamin C, if it's in a really hydrating base, because vitamin C can influence to some degree how skin heals. That can be helpful. But in terms of like where you should start right now, I would say our Omega Serum would be the go-to. And don't be afraid to use some cortisone over the counter. For short-term intermittent use, it will not thin your skin. That's like what everyone's freaked out about, including some doctors. But when you're using it for even up to a month at a time and then taking breaks, you're not going to cause permanent damage to your skin. And you can also start using it for a few days, and then when the flare-up starts to get under control, you can cut back on how often you use it and see how your skin responds. You'll know. If you have an eczema flare-up, you'll know if it starts getting worse and you need to start using the cortisone more regularly, but then follow with that Omega Serum, and I promise you'll see a big difference. Okay, I have 1 minute left, and then I gotta go talk to our friends in the UK. Okay, the Edgy Indian. Skincare, really, I can use some help. Okay, Okay. Oh, he's just being mean. You know, I do a lot of talking though because I'm not hearing you guys. You know, it's not a, it's a conversation, but it's kind of one-sided, I guess. I just hope what's coming out of my mouth helps some of you. All right. Oh man. Okay, let's do one from Nicholas. Hi Bryan, my derm prescribed me a tretinoin, which is a retinoid, but my skin around my eyes and mouth are dry, flaky, even if I don't put my cream on those areas. Right. So first of all, why does that happen? Even if you don't use the tretinoin, the reason is because tretinoin and also over-the-counter retinol have a longer half-life in skin. And what I mean by half-life is that once you put it on, I told you, earlier, these are bioactive ingredients. They take a while to fully break down in the skin, and their effects continue for a certain amount of time after you put them on the skin. And retinol and more so tretinoin have a longer half-life. So if you use it daily, you're adding more to what's already there, and then adding more to what's already there. And for some people, that's fine, but some people's skin, that's too much. They really need to go through what's already there, kind of in surplus, before you start adding more to the pile. So, what to do? You simply need to experiment with using the tretinoin product less frequently, maybe even just twice a week. And then what do you do about the dry, flaky skin around the eyes and around the mouth, even on the nights that you're not using that? I would say in the interim, you need to use a balm or ointment type product that's incredibly gentle and healing. There is a product, I mentioned the CeraVe Healing Ointment earlier in the show, or the show, the show. That's a great product. There is also a product called Restore from Dr. Heather Rogers. She's a Seattle-based dermatologist. I'm mentioning that because Paula, I'm a big fan of Dr. Rogers. I think she's fantastic. But Paula started using that product after she had some extreme dryness from a laser treatment and found it to be remarkable. So Dr. Heather Rogers Restore, Google that. I think you should be able to buy it online and check it out. It's a pretty cool product and very, very gentle. So I am going to wrap up. I got to go talk to our UK fans. Thank you so much for hanging with me. This is the last live chat of 2018. I will be back in the next few days to, such a dry nose, awful. I will be back to answer additional questions if you guys want to leave them in the comments section. But if not, I will speak with you next year. Happy holidays. Thanks for supporting Paula's Choice.